Yeah, ma'am. Yeah, I'm keeping the computer a little bit correct.
Okay. Done.
അല്ല സ്പീക്കർ മൈക്ക് ഒന്ന് ചെറുതായിട്ട് അഡ്ജസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്താല
Mike,
ഭുവനേശ്വരി 2 സോഴ്സ് ഉണ്ടോ? ഭുവനേശ്വരി
യെസ്
ഉണ്ട്. പക്ഷെ ഇക്കോ ഉണ്ടോ? പ്രോബ്ലം ഉണ്ടോ?
ഇല്ല, നോ പ്രോബ്ലം. ആസ്കിങ്.
ഐ ഹാവ് ഇത്തിരി ഒരു പ്രോബ്ലം ഉണ്ട് ലൈറ്റിന്റെ, അത് കാരണം ഫോണിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തതാണ്.
Okay.
സോ യു ക്യാൻ സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ജെന.
Okay. Greetings and welcome to all the AIWC members, our patron, Mrs. Indra Ramakrishnan, and the executive members of AIWC who has joined us and who will be joining us in due course, our well-wishers, our guests, students, faculty who have joined us on this platform. I feel very happy to tell you that this is the 48th lecture in our series, Cultural and Literary Forum, and we have been doing this for over 4 years now. And this every month we have had a talk since 2020 December, when we had the Chief Secretary, Sri Jayakumar, who inaugurated our Cultural and Literary Forum. So it's with a matter of pride of the AIWC Trivandrum chapter that I can tell you that everyone here at Trivandrum have assisted me in organizing this Cultural and Literary Forum, particularly Usha, who was the backbone of this program that we are holding. Today we have Dr. Appu Jacob John from the Institute of English, a faculty member of the University of Kerala. And actually, Dr. Appu sent me such a long bio that I was quite perplexed by the different kinds of things he has been doing and the variety of interests that he has. Started off with an MA English from the School of Letters, NG University, went on to do his PhD with Dr. Harris at NG University. Then he did a B.Ed. He has taught in high secondary schools. He has taught in a number of colleges before he came to the Kerala University. And since joining Kerala University, I must say, he is one of the most sought after faculty members at the Institute of English, and he has been doing a lot of work, particularly for the 4-year undergraduate program, which Kerala University launched under the National Policy Education Program, NPEP. Other than his interest in literature and his teaching of English, I was very impressed by his biodata, which told me he has done a bachelor's in library science. He has a PG diploma in journalism and mass media, and he has also a PG diploma in public relations. So we have with us today a faculty member who has wide interest, and I'm sure he's going to give us a really interesting talk on Argentina. Apart from these qualifications, he has also a diploma in computer and software development and advanced skills in counseling, has an NCC certificate and a ham radio and LMB license. He has a couple of students registered with him for his PhD, and he's also completed a mock course in the Right to Information Act conducted by the Institute of Management. And he has participated in various quiz competitions and a coordinator for CMS College, Kottayam. I was also very interested to see that he is a lover of nature, lover of environment, of trees, and he is a member of the Friends of Tibet and Well-Being. So that really, and I was looking at his various publications and his presentations at conferences, and he has done quite a lot on Tibet. The Friends of Tibet and Well-Being may have been the reason, his membership there must have been the reason for him to have concentrated on Tibet, Tibetan writers, Tibetan poets. He is also part of the India and National Geographic Society, the Ham Radio Society, and the Periyar River Keeper and Towards Freedom. So we have not only a scholar who has a variety of disciplines under his cap, but also a person who loves nature, environment, and stories. He is an official translator of these books, and he has translated many chapters on a project funded by Association for the Study of Literature and Environment. And I'm sure Bhuneshwari and Usha, who have such an interest in environment, will be going back to Apu to find out more about his work in this area. He has research papers and poems also that he has written. He has done a couple of papers on ramblings in neo-literatures. And something that interested me again was a paper that he published, which is called Behind the Lion's Roar, an analysis of Tom and Jerry cartoon series. Here is where I think where students get interested in the comic, and also something that is very, part of modern life. He has also a number of academic papers, and over 24 papers, attended about 100 conferences and publications that range over a variety of themes. Couple of articles that interested me was a title which read An Aptless World, New Media and Personalities, and another which said An Analysis of Tibetan Poetry in Exile. There are lots more on Tibet that he has written. So we have a multifaceted personality with us today. So thank you, Apu, for joining us on this platform and talk to us on Argentina. And before I hand over the proceedings to Apu, I would just like to say something about my knowledge of Argentina. Of course, we all at literature students, Borges' name comes to our minds first, a writer who's a Nobel Prize winner who's known all over the world, the kind of writing that he has done. There is a particular poem that Borges has written, which is called The Art of Poetry. And there is a universal truth that he writes there, which talks about time and water. And as we know, Argentina is a country which has a lot of water, not only all around it, but inside it as well, and the waterfall between Brazil and Argentina. So a country that is in the water, as you say. And maybe that is why Borges, writing about Argentina, wrote like this. This is what he said: to gaze at a river made of time and water. Made of time and water. So the river represents for him the passage of time. It also represents the flow of time. And remember, time is another river. To know we stray like a river and our faces vanish like water. Everything is temporary. Everything is superficial. There is nothing that is permanent. And as Borges says, I think this is the line that I would like to relate to Argentina. Going back to the 16th century, we know there is a legend about Argentina and how Argentina got its name, of course, from the Latin word argentum, which means silver. And there is a legend which says that there was a white king at one point of time who lived on a silver mountain, a mountain of silver. And the legend also talks about the river of silver. So you have mountain ranges, you have rivers, you have legends that come from the Native American people who once lived and settled in South America. Also, like Canada, there are many resemblances between Canada and Argentina, which I had not known before. The prairies of Canada is another, I would say, a duplication of the pampas of Argentina, the flat lands where there is a lot of cattle, there is a lot of grass, but hardly any human beings. It is a land which, what is called the undulating land, which does not have water inside at points. And there is a certain solitude also about Argentina. Maybe these were some of the reasons why we know that Amerigo Vespucci, Cabot, and others traveled, and they discovered lands like North America and the north of North America, which became known as Canada, and the south of North America, which became known as South America, and to which Argentina belongs. So you have a whole, mapping of a territory that was done by the adventurers, Spanish adventurers, Italian adventurers who came to this land. But they were all fascinated by the silver that they could, like when they came to India, it was the spices that attracted them. Argentina was known for its minerals, and particularly its silver. Everyone thought there was a silver mountain, the mountain of silver. And they even talked about the river of silver. So Argentum, as the Latin word for Argentina. So that is how it got its name. And the legend continues that here is a land that is rich in minerals. And for the capital of Argentina, Buenos Aires, we know it has been compared to places like Paris and New York, to say it is as good as Paris. Well, that set me thinking, because we hardly hear about Argentina and this city, its capital, as comparable to a place like Paris or New York. Maybe Apu will throw more light on that and the history and why that has happened. There is a lot of different cultural groups in Argentina, multicultural society. It is also rich in its biodiversity. Now, it is at this point that I want to hand it over to Apu, because I know the biodiversity of this land, Argentina, is sure to fascinate him, given his background and interest in environment and nature. So, with this brief introduction about Argentina, a land which is mysterious, which is full of solitude, which gives us this feeling, here is the treasure of the world in silver. Here is the treasure of the world in water and flowing time. And here is writers like Borges trying to tell us that Argentina is a country that will continue to flow and remain in the minds of people all over the world. And today we know Argentina for its football and for its football players like Messi and Maradona. So I think Argentina is beginning to take a center stage, as North America and Canada began to do years back, and which Argentina is now coming forward to. So with these words, I'm sure that Argentina is going to fascinate us all. I ask Apu to tell us more about this fascinating country. Over to you, Apu.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for giving me this opportunity. And I'd like to start from where Jamila ma'am has talked about that Silver Mountain. And I think similarly, in Marco Polo's writings about India, there he had said that India is a place where there is people build with gold and houses are made with gold. And so it was always an elusive dream for the colonizer to go to these places and take the things. And for the Spanish world, it was a kind of dream that they called it as El Dorado. El Dorado means the never fulfilling dream, a dream that one cannot find. So Argentina, as ma'am said, we seldom hear what Argentina is or the South America is, but it has a rich heritage in the Latin world, especially under the Spanish rule and their indigenous systems. Now, shall I start my presentation?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
I'll do my presentation along with talking along with the presentation.
Yeah.
So I think my presentation is visible.
Yes.
So one minute. It's the slides are moving also. No.
Yeah.
So Argentina, actually the name we call it as Argentina because of our English influence. For the Spaniards, J is a very difficult sound. Instead, they use the H. I have written the phonetic transcription, R is there, then an X is there, and an sound is there. So for them, in Spanish, it is like Argentina, Argentina, or the Silver Land. They call it as the Silver Land, and it is located in the southern hemisphere. If you can see, if you can turn the globe towards the left side, you can see that Africa, it is on the other side of Africa. And Alfred Wagner, the great scientist who found the theory of continental drift, he had this idea of continental drift by understanding that if you can fix South America here on the side of Africa on the northern side, you can find a full-sized continent. So South America, Argentina, the history starts from there. Now this is the Argentine country that is put in the green color, and there is a little bit downwards in the Cape side, and they claim several parts in the Antarctic side also. So that is basically Argentina. It is located in the southern part of South America, and it's almost shares its borders with Chile, which is rather a strip of land, and it consists. It's the eighth largest country in the world with 2,780,400 kilometer square area, and it shares the southern corner with Chile in the west, Bolivia and Paraguay on the north, Brazil on the northeast, Uruguay on the south, and it borders the Atlantic Ocean on the east and the Drake's Passage on the south. Now, the Drake's Passage is considered to be one of the most difficult terrains to travel, and it's the strait between the South America and Antarctica. It's a very the sea is very rough. The sea is very choppy there, but this is the easiest passage with which you can fly from or ship go to Antarctica. Now, it is the second largest country in South America, with the eighth largest in the world, with 27 million 80,400 square kilometers area, where 1.57% of the whole country is water. Third most populated state in the South America, and the 35th largest populated state in the world. And the number of persons at present living is 470 million, with a density of 16.6 persons per square kilometer. This is actually very low when in comparison with India. Now, the capital of Argentina actually, it should be Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires means the city of fair winds. This was named because one of the travelers who traveled from Spain actually traveled and found that this place had good air, both on land as well as when they made a colony, and the airs or the winds actually led them to this place. And it is one of the most powerful centers or most powerful centers in the whole of South America, and it is a very business business center. It is called an autonomous capital region, just like our NCR, National Capital Region. It's an autonomous capital region, and it is the oldest region where the Spaniards had colonized in South America. And there are 23 provinces also. Argentina also claims ownership on Falkland Islands, South Georgia, South Sandwich Islands, and South Patagonian ice field in Antarctica. Actually, South Georgia, South Sandwich Islands, and South Patagonian ice field, they belong to Antarctica, while Falkland Islands is on the border of Argentina and Chile. And you may all be remembering about the Falkland War that happens around the 70s and 80s, where England had a claim on the same island, which is actually a very, very strange claim, because England never had a colony in the South America, and England's colonial attempts to colonize anywhere in South America was rebutted by Portugal and Spain. But they had established a colony in the Falklands Island and they wanted to claim the colony there. Now, this is again, it's called a city of fair winds, and I have posted a picture. You can see how the flat land is there, as ma'am already said, just like the priory. This was a pampa land now converted into one of the greatest cities in the world. And in South America, I think that no other city other than Buenos Aires will have the title of the capital of South America. But if you find a capital of South America, if you place a city as the capital of South America, it is definitely it needs to be Buenos Aires. Now, moving on, the type of government. Now, I have put a particular word there, the present government. I put it present government because uh, the place actually started off as a military conquest, as part of military conquest, and regional armies were there, battles were there, civil wars were there, coups were there. At present, the government is a federal presidential republic, and the president of Argentina is Javier Milei. Now, see, it's even J is put there, but it should be pronounced as Javier Miles. The vice president is Victoria Villarreal, chief of cabinet ministers. This is this is actually the cabinet of ministers is the main cabinet here. Guillaume Francois, president of the Chamber of Deputies, is the head of the deputy ministers is Martin Menon, and president of the Supreme Court is Horacio Rossetti. President of the Supreme Court means the Chief Justice of this Argentina is Horacio Rossetti. Now, there are two legislature chambers. One is the Senate or the High Chamber, and the chamber, the lower chamber. It has 23 provinces and one autonomous city. Now, taking about the population, out of the present day population, it includes indigenous people, colonial people of the Spanish, immigrants. Now, note this immigrant Spanish people here, immigrants here, Italian, Welsh, African, German, and Jewish. Now, it's interesting to see that Italians have come as part of the colonial expansion. Africans have come as part of the slave trade, and Jews, Germans, and Welsh. Actually, Welsh had come along with the Italians and established there. There is a sub variety of official language that's used in Argentina, which is called Patagonian Welsh. It is not the actual Welsh. It is having connections with the. It is only found in Argentina. So the immigrants from Wales had already been there from long time ago. And note the other two, German and Jewish. I'll discuss the German and Jewish part a little while later. At present, Argentina is called the melting pot of immigrant and indigenous cultures. It's called a melting pot because there was a time when presidents like Juan Perón, they wanted to have a global society there, and they invited both Germans and Jewish and any kind of person migrating there. We have 79%, at present we have 79% European roots to the population there. 18% are strictly indigenous, 4.3% are African, and about 63.3% of the people have at least one indigenous ancestor. So that is the present situation. Now let's move on to the national icons. You can see that I have placed the national flag, which is actually two sky blue strips with a white strip in the middle, and there's a sun in the center. The icon, national icon, is called Sol de Mayo. Sol de Mayo is called the May sun, or it comes from, the symbol is actually taken from the Incan sun god whose name is Iti. Incan sun god, Incan gods like the Indian counterpart Brahma. You have a god called Vikura. After Vikura, the most powerful person, or as we in India we call it as the Vidhata, we have the Sol de Mayo, or the sun god, or Iti. Now, an interesting thing is that the Spain had actually colonized Philippines also, and this same movement in Argentina had aroused the interest of freedom movements in Philippines also. And they too have taken this Sol de Mayo as their national symbol. Now, it's a two sky blue strips with a white strip in the middle, with a sun, the yellow sun of the month of May, and it's the national symbol. It's taken from the sun god, Incan sun god called Inti. It is designed by Manuel Belgrano, and as what in 1653, if I remember, sorry, in 1812, and the motto of Argentina is actually En Unión y Libertad. It means in unity and freedom. And the national anthem is O id mortales, el grito. Uh, I'll read the full lines. I have written it down because of the lack of the space. I couldn't place it on the slide. It goes on like this: O id mortales, el grito, libertad, libertad, libertad. The translation is, "Here, mortals, the sacred city, freedom, freedom, freedom." And this was the words are by Vincent Lopez y Planas. E is and Vincent Lopez and Planas. He has got two surnames. The Latin American custom is like that. If you have three names, just like we are all familiar with the Colombian writer, sorry, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. No, and, naturally, we call him as Mr. Marquez. Actually, according to the Latin American custom, it is wrong. Marquez is his father's side, father's family, and Garcia is mother's side. So his surname is Garcia Marquez. We have to call him as Garcia Marquez. We take the Peruvian writer, Maria Vargas Llosa. We always call him as Llosa. The name is not Llosa, it is as Vargas Llosa. We should call him as Vargas Llosa. So the name Vincent Lopez y Planas. Lopez and Planas. His mother's side is Lopez, his father's side is Planas. So Vincent, who's the son of Lopez and Planas. It goes like that. And the music is by Blas Pereira. And each year, 11th of May is considered as the anthem day. And 11th of May, it falls to be the spring season when the sun, or the summer season when the sun is in full glory. That's why the Son of May, the anthem of May, is also important. Now, this is a coat of arms. It was designed in 1813 during the Civil War, or the war between the various juntas, and it was officially accepted in 1914. Now, if you see, you can see that it's a very so many themes are there, but it's a little bit confusing. On the top of this, you can see the Son of May, the official sun symbol. There is a laurel wreath which tied at the bottom using a ribbon which is having the national colors of Argentina, white and sky blue. Also, along with this, they use gold as part of their color. And inside the circle, you can see that there's the Argentine colors in the background. In front, you have two hands shaking. It's a symbol which tells us of unity and the federal system. Earlier, Argentina had 23 provinces, and 23 provinces had military governors who fought against each other. When the federal government came into power, they more than controlling, they associated all these forces together, and they made it a separate force of themselves. And because of that, the handshake is placed there. Behind that, you can see that there's a pike. Pike is not a spear. You call it as a pike because it's only a wooden stick sharpened at the edge. But the sharpened edge is not visible. It is covered with a hat. Maybe since it's the season of Christmas, we are all familiar with this hat with a white pompon on the top. But it's not a white pompon, it's a red pompon and a red hat. Such a hat is called a Thracian hat or a Liberty hat. And in Christmas, we put it on this side, but in Liberty hat, it is put from this side. That is, the pompon is from the front side. Now, this was worn by several of the Roman gladiators. Thracia forms part of the present Europe, or some place between France as well as Germany. So Thracians were part of, you are all familiar with Spartacus. Spartacus is actually a Thracian. Spartacus used to wear a hat like this, and that's why this Thracian hat has got a important position in this thing. The pike is covered with the, you see that the liberty hat, and that is, they will take arms only where if their freedom is in question. It is a laurel wreath with the sun on top and joined at the ends with a ribbon in the national colors, Argentine national colors in the background, while a pike with a liberty hat and shaking hands in the foreground. Believed to be designed by Montegro Vietes or Isidoro Lastro, because we don't know who designed this. This happened in the 19th century, 18th century, when there was several, during the time of the first triumvirate or first military junta ruled there. So two persons, Montenegro Vietes and Isidoro Lastro, are believed to be the designers of this coat of arms. It is only in 1914 that it is officially designated as the coat of arms of Argentina. Now, before going to the father of the nation, I have put two things down. First is that official language is Spanish. That is something that we have already discussed. Now, cockade of Argentina, it's the ribbon that is worn on top of your hat, just like the military leaders wearing pompons or the flashy symbols on top. If you are an Argentinian, these are the colors that should be worn on your cap. Now, the father of the nation, I have put the portrait of father of the nation, Generalissimo Jose de San Martin. It is actually Generalissimo. Generalissimo is not a field marshal. It's the general of generals. In several countries who adopt this term military rank, they place it as the general of generals, and they place him above above all the military forces. Now, Jose de San Martin is called the liberator of Argentina, Chile, and Peru, and he liberated Argentina from Spain. Actually, he was born in Argentina, he was educated in Spain, and he was part of the Spanish army. And when he was a lieutenant colonel in the army, he occupied a portion of Argentina and started fighting against the Spanish. He was part of the Royal Grenadiers and started fighting against the Spanish. And by the end of the 18th century, they got liberated from the Spanish rule. So he took, from lieutenant colonel, he took the rank of generalissimo, and he became the father of the nation. Now, the national symbols. On two sides, I will start from the 1856 Statue of Liberty. See, this Statue of Liberty holds the Statue of Liberty in America. In this Statue of Liberty, there's a shield on her hand. This is actually a place called Plaza de Mayo. Plaza de Mayo is the center square of in front of the government offices in Buenos Aires. You can see the shield where the woman is having a shield where she is having the coat of arms of Argentina. On her hand, there's the pike, but the top is not clear. She is wearing a Thracian hat. And on the left, the woman bust. We don't know what her name is. It is made by a French artist in 1900s. This is placed in the central hall of the Argentinian government agency, where all the national functions happen. On her head, there's a small imitation of a Thracian hat, the Liberty hat. And on her chest, there's the coat of arms placed there. Now, in the middle, gauchos, just like the European cowboys or the American cowboys, the Spanish cowboys or the Latin American cowboys are called gauchos. And you can see almost the similar, they do almost the similar work. They rope in the cows, they run the ranches, but the kind of dress or the kind of materials are different. The similarity, you can find the similarity in the cowboy scarf or the bandana on their neck. For the other European or the American cowboys, it's not the bandana, they tie it the other way around so that it covers their neck part. You have the hat, which is called a sombrero, or the straw hat made by weaving straws together. And the cloth that he wears is called a poncho. A poncho is actually nothing but a large sheet with an opening in the middle, which you wear to cover your, which you use to poke your head out, and the rest of the body is covered. Towards they wear shoes and also leatherettes, leatherettes instead of the jeans for the from the American side. They have not they don't have guns, but they have a dagger with them, and they have a very interesting silver plated belt also associated with this. These are the national symbols. The Statue of Liberty and the woman bust are not what are something that we cannot find every day, but gaucho cowboys was something, a symbol of Argentina for long. Now, the national currency, you have I have placed the 1 million note there with a lady sitting there. She is also called the effigy. She is also called the uh, effigy of freedom or effigy of development. And on the other side, the currency is called peso, and pesos what the smaller version is called centavos. On centavos also you can see the national woman, the lady's head, and also the coat of arms. I have placed the Sol de Mayo, a clearer image here. See the face. This is how Inti is represented in Incan portraits. That's why Inti is taken. You can see that every alternating ray is straight, and the other ray is a little bit bent. Rhododendrosite, as ma'am had already said, the national mineral of Argentina is rhododendrosite. Now, national tree is called Ceibo and Cabarcho. Ceibo flower is called the national flower of national flower of Argentina. Now, Ceibo is also, we are all familiar with Ceibo actually. This is, even though the picture is different, in India also Ceibo is there. In Malayalam we call it as Kolivalpu. It looks like the the plume of the cock. That's why its place called the Ceibo flower. Now the national bird I have placed on the left. There's a bird, and that is the national bird of Argentina called Rufus honero, a small bird. But the other two images are two images that I wanted to familiarize you with, because Rufus honero is a very small bird. What something that we call it in Malayalam as an adakya kuruvi, which is able to which wanders from place to place. But going to South America, I cannot but tell you about the llama on the right extreme. A llama is the goat or the camel or the yak or anything in South America. And the girl who stands near her, the llama, is actually a Peruvian girl. The costume is Peruvian, not Argentinian. And the Peruvians or the Incans were the first to domesticate a llama. And an interesting thing about llama is that a llama doesn't run when it is fear, when it is having a fear. It just spits out. So if you are in front of a llama, you are trying to pacify it, it might not bite. It will spit, and a big glow of saliva will be hitting your face. That's how llamas react when they are when they are afraid. Now the middle picture is called Argentine ant, which is a global catastrophe now because it's an invasive species that has colonized from Argentina to several parts, including Asia. It is able to build colonies, and it is able to destroy almost all kinds of vegetations all over the world. But even when I said about that, Rufus honero is the national bird of Argentina. Now, national symbols. On the left, on the right, you can see the patron saint of Argentina, Our Lady of Lujan. Our Lady of Lujan is actually Mother Mary, Virgin Mary, with that blue and white blue robe and a white cassock, and she's standing on the moon. Now, this standing on the moon is basically a Spanish motif. That is why wherever in Catholic Church, wherever Spaniards went, or the Portuguese went, or the Castilians went, they use the moon as a symbol for Mother Mary. If you go to Vettugadu Church in Trivandrum, if you go to Velanganni, you can see that that ornate crescent on which Mother Mary stands. Our Lady of Lujan is actually a representation of the Spanish Mother Mary image, which was translated to South America. Now, the national sport is called Pato. Pato is actually a combination of a horse run combination of polo and basketball. In polo, you pick things using a lance, but in Pato, you use a cup-like structure and you scoop the ball that is there. So these are the national food of Argentina. And on the right is a locro, which is squash, beans, corn, potato, and pumpkin. It's a kind of soup or a kind of mixed stew. Locro is actually from the indigenous tribes. While on the other downwards, you can see that it's called asado. Asado is a mixed meat parilla. Parilla means even if it is spelled as Parrilla, you cannot say it as parilla. You have to say it as parilla. La. There is no la. There is ll means ya. That is the same with the writers Incan language. The writers we have a former presidential candidate and a writer, Maria Vargas. The name is Llosa, and several of our scholars pronounce it as Losa. It's actually not Losa in Spanish. If two L comes together, it's called Yosa. Similarly, mixed meat parilla. Parilla is a grill on which all kinds of meat. There will be goat's meat, pork's meat, cow meat, chicken, and chorizos or blood sausages, and types of things will be kept together, and they will roast it and cook it and have it. Maybe this is something that came to their food from the probably from the gaucho tradition, because they were wanderers and they cook any kind of meat there. And interestingly, this asado became one of the most important terms of Argentinian language also, because the number of words are connected to the cooking strategies there. A cook who specifies in making asados is called asador or pariller. And on the left, you have seen vino. Vino is Spanish for wine. But interesting thing is that in India, we take wine, or all over Europe, you take wine as it is. But here, people take wine with soda water. I don't know what is the relevance behind this. They take it with soda water. And on top, this is yerba mate. This is the classical traditional drink of the Argentinians. And you can see the image there. It's the special cup with a straw, and the cup is filled with the dried leaves of a particular plant called yerba. Yerba is a kind of drink that has got a great amount of caffeine in it, and hot water is poured into it so that the leaves are shaken again and again, and it's sipped out through the straw. Now it's called mate. The name of the drink is mate. Since it's made with yerba, it's called yerba mate. And recently, after the football World Cup victory of Argentina, Lionel Messi was found using one of them, and people were so curious to ask what it is. And it was then the world was advertised that this is yerba. It's actually made. The cup is made of a bottle gourd plant, inside of which is cleaned and made into a cup, and the straw is basically bamboo or metal. As each status goes up, it changes differently. And with half a cup of yerba, you can make around 30 to 40 drinks. People will sit, drink it on and on, pouring hot water on and on. Just like the drinking customs of other places, you are not supposed to empty a cup. You have to fill it again and again using this hot water. That's the national drink of this Argentina. Now, coming to football, it is interesting note that Argentina never accepted football as its national game, but nobody knows Pato, everybody knows football. Argentina has won 3 times, and on the the FIFA World Cup 3 times. It was in 1978 when Mario Alberto Kempes Chiodi was the top scorer. In 1978, it first won the FIFA World Cup. In 1986, when Diego Armando Maradona Franco won the World Cup, and in 2022, when Lionel Messi was the captain. Now, the interesting thing is that this was introduced to actually football is actually, or they in Spanish it's not called football, it's called futsal. Futsal is actually coming from Brazil, but football was introduced to Argentina by the British immigrants to Argentina, and there are about a quarter of the population, or I'm not what going to a deeper survey. Around half of the population is either a registered or unregistered player or official of this game, and they had started the 90% of the population is a fan of the national team. We may think that if it was that popularity for football in India, we might have won the World Cup a number of times by now. And the first Argentinian league started in 1891, around the time when several of the European leagues started. And there is a word that is used by the Latin American footballers. It's called La Liga. La Liga is means that it's called a league, which stands for the how the Latin American states from Mexico down to Chile participate in this football annual football cups, and the trophy is called Copa America, the Cup of America, which Argentina had won 16 times. Now, again in 1986, Diego Maradona's winning. This is actually a sentimental win for several of uh, the the Argentinian football fans. You all know about, you all might have remember about how Maradona's claim for win, where it is supposed that he hit the ball with his hand, and he said that this is the hand of God, and that happened in another Latin American country, that in Mexico, the name of the stadium was Maracana, and no, and it is they had the first win 78. 8 years later, they had the second win, and it is only about what 40 years later that they had the third win. And Messi was actually participating for the last consecutively for the last 3 World Cups, and he was announcing his retirement. And people wanted Messi to win because he is the god of football in Argentina now. Anyway, interesting to note. But another similarity, when Messi won the game, Maradona was the manager of the national team, and Maradona died recently. However, he had several other relations, like he was. There are allegations that he was addicted to drugs. Anyway, these three were the legends of Argentinian football. Now, coming to the darker side. Now, this is a very darker side, because Argentina was at the same time, as I said earlier, it gave what a place for the Jewish immigrants and the German immigrants. Now, these three persons, these are the most notorious, these are three of the most notorious criminals, war criminals of the Second World War. First one, Joseph Rudolph Mengele. He's called Dr. Mengele, or the other name is Dr. Death, because he was the one who invented Cyclone B, and he understood that it can be used to kill multiple number of millions. One of the saddest things in the world. I actually didn't understand the kind of trauma that these Israeli what people might have had in the prison camps. I had an opportunity to go to Israel in a visit to visit the place. and I found that there was a museum where we went to it's called a Holocaust Museum, and in the Holocaust Museum, there is a number of halls where you can see the names of people who died have been meticulously listed. There were artifacts kept there in order to show how how data was transferred from the camps to outwards, and things like that. But there was one hall. The name of the museum is Yad Washim, just like our Persian word Yad, memory. Yad Washim. Should we not forget? That is the title of the museum. Name of the museum. It was a very traumatic experience because you are asked to enter into a dark room. You go move from a dark channel and you go into the room where you find that hundreds and hundreds of mirrors are there, and in the center of it there's a one single oil lamp is there, and that oil lamp is reflected all through these mirrors. You cannot see your reflection, you cannot see any other light, you will only see thousands of reflections. Just like I had a particular kind of what unworldly experience there. I thought that something of a what the spirits of all these people are standing there. But immediately after that, I had to visit Palestine, and I rubbed it off at the same moment, because 8 years later, how can a set of people in 1948 they gained 1942 they gained independence, they moved out of the the German prison camps, but in 1948 they were the ones who started the first Intifada, who wiped out hundreds of people who did the same thing with the Palestinians. Sorry for the diversion. Now, Mengele, there was also a film called Night and Fog by a German filmmaker, where he had portrayed almost all the prison camps, where the prison camps were, how the camps were taken in, how people were punished, how people were brutally punished, the death chambers, where you can find that there were in hard concrete walls, you can find that how people in desperate need to survive, how they had marked their marks like that. They tried to bite it. They use their bare nails to cut across the concrete in search of air. So that is Joseph Rudolph Mengele. Next man, Otto Adolf Eichmann. Eichmann is the butcher of Nuremberg. No, not Nuremberg. Butcher of prison camp. He was an officer who was in charge of one of the deadliest concentration camps, and he actually, in reality, he killed many millions. And Ante Pavlik was not a German, he was a Croatian. He was deeply he liked this idea called Nazism, and he joined this thing. He was also another high ranking Nazi concentration camp official. And Mengele, as well as Mengele, was from the research wing. Eichmann, you can see Eichmann wearing his full cap. On top of Eichmann's cap, you can see his insignia. There's a skull and crossbones. That means he is part of the SS, or the Schutzstaffel, which was the secret wing, which was the deep hardcore criminal minded Nazis who were employed to kill off these people. Now, South America, during the Peronist South America, Argentina was a safe haven for several of the high-ranking Nazi officials, and these three persons, along with three others, were sent from Germany to Argentina. And a person who was all over Europe, they were hunted down by the Mossad, but these guys escaped with the help of a Catholic bishop who was a Nazi follower, and because of that they were able to come to Buenos Aires, and they stayed there. But interesting enough, the Mossad was very powerful, and they were able to trace down. And there is even a film which tells us about the grabbing of Otto Adolf Eichmann, because Eichmann was living off like an old man, and the Mossad came into his house. They injected some sleeping drugs to him, they disguised him and took him onto the plane and went to Israel. It was only when the plane was in the air that the authorities knew that they had nabbed Eichmann. So they were so powerful like that. Now Peron actually spoke against the Nuremberg trials. That is even again a funny situation, because Peron was member of a party called the Liberal, or the Social Party, or the Justicialist League, which is having left leanings. But he said that he was for the Nazis, and he was instrumental in providing the country for the Nazis with a rat line of the high-ranking Nazis to escape to Argentina. And again, Adolf Eichmann was executed in Nuremberg, and Eichmann's executioner passed away last week. That is again another coincidence. And ironically, Argentina allowed Jewish immigrants also. And even when the number of immigrants from all other countries, including India, came back to this Israel, the newly free country, immigrants from Argentina are still living there. For them, Argentina is a safe place even now. That's the interesting thing. Maybe that is how Peron viewed it, and to a certain part, Peron was successful in it also. Now, let's go to the early inhabitants of Argentina. I was moving a little bit from this side to the other side. The early inhabitants of Argentina, we call it as the pre-contract era. Earlier, it was called the pre-Columbian, or before Columbus, or pre-Cabralian. Cabral was the first to land in Pedro Alvarez Cabral was the first to land in Brazil. That's how Brazil was conquered by the Portuguese. There was settlements in the Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic ages also. And I have given a picture here. It's called Cueva de las Manos. Manos means hands, the cave of hands. It's a rock complex, where a complex set of rock art, where it's not drawings, it's actually stencils. When all the other countries in the world, we have paintings on the rock, but this is stencil. This is a very special factor that we find with the Argentinian tradition, the cave of hands. It is believed that these drawings are as early as 7300 BC and as late as 700 AD. We have three kinds of early groups in Argentina. First, you have the hunter-gatherers who had without poetry, and even traces of them are even now found in the ethnic groups in the extreme south part of Argentina. There, second, you have the advanced hunter-gatherers without pottery. We find them in the ethnic groups in the center, east, and south. And the third set is called farmers. I place it as slash and burn. That's the culture of farming there. They'll go into a wilderness, they cut the trees, they burn it, and they plant the trees, they plant their seeds, and then come back with pottery, and found in the ethnic groups in the center and center west. Now, after, at the same time also, from Peru, the Incan Empire had conquered a great part of Argentina also. Now, this is a colonial time, colonial history. 1492 to 1500, you have the Christopher Columbus and Francisco Cabral. 1502, Amerigo Vespucci. 1516 to 1526. These are the first persons actually who were instrumental in setting up a place in sorry, a place in Argentina. This is De Solis and Sebastian Cabot. And 1536, the Mendoza was the first person who identified Buenos Aires. But Mendoza set up a colony, but the colony didn't survive because the natives were so fearsome that they sent the colonists back from to the River Plate, on which they came by their boats. Now, I have placed 1536, 1553, 1558, 1561, 62, 65, 673 till 80 or till 96 as the number of cities they have found. In 1553, Santiago de Estra, a province, the present-day province in present-day Argentina, was found by Ferdinand de Aguirre. 1558, the province of Lourdes or the city of Lourdes was found. 1561, Mendoza, province of Mendoza was found. In 1562, the city of San Juan was found. 1565, the city of San Miguel de Tucumán. The city called San Miguel de Tucumán is also important because it is the place where the national constitution of Argentina was set up. 73, the city of Santa Fe by Juan de Garay were founded. 1573, Cordoba. Again, Cordoba is actually a real city in Spain. The same name given here by Juan L. Cordoba. Buenos Aires, founded for a second time by Juan de Garare. This time in 1580, they established a fortress there and they started their colony in a much better manner. 1596, San Luis. San Luis is the last major city found by the colonizers. The rest of the cities they built up as the colonial empire developed. By 1776, the whole place was called the Viceroyalty of River Plate. River Plate is the river that runs through Argentinian capital Buenos Aires. That is why it's called the Viceroyalty of the River Plate. In 1806 and 1807, there were two failed British invasions which actually backfired because of the very strong Spanish opposition to it. 1810, the first movement towards freedom. It's called May Revolution. Again, the son of May. The May Revolution. It happened by Hidalgo, where a set of the actually I don't know whether one can call it as a revolution, because between 1810 and 1816, it is a long process of actually a kind of civil war between the several of the warlords or the juntas in several parts of several territories of the Argentinian provinces. And there were two kinds of people who were called the centrists. Centrists said that we need a central system where one person will only be the ruler of the space. And the other set called federalists, who said that we don't want we need a central council. We don't want a central ruler, but it is better to have a federal system. Now, and there was a fierce independence war. They were all united for Argentina, but they were having little bit differences between them. Now, there was an Incan plan also. In 1815, there was an idea where the father of Argentinian nation, Sebastian Masos, also said that we need to have a semi-Indian Incan to be our ruler. Somebody like, and there is a very famous person whose name is, they wanted to place him as the king of Argentina. His name was Tupac Amaru. Tupac Amaru, the same name was later taken by the famous filmmaker whose name, who decided, I forgot his name. He was the person who brought in the movie called The Avatar and the Titanic, where in Avatar, Tupac Amaru becomes a very important name. But this was also not taken in. The independence war moved away, moved to other planes, and independence was the most important thing. And they started this Congress of Tucumán, and they declared their independence in 1816, and constitutional efforts started. They started bringing up the constitutional. In 1819, a centralist constitution. The centralists said that this is how they wanted to have the state to be there. And in 1831, De Rosas, who was the governor of Buenos Aires, he said that we don't want a central system. We want a confederation so that we can stand together and fight against our common enemy. So in 1831, Manuel de Rosas, who was the governor of Buenos Aires, actually voted for a confederation. That's why that shaking hands in the national symbol has a value here. In 1836 to 39, the War of Confederation, several centrist versus, it's a kind of civil war where centrist versus these federalists were having a kind of war against. But in 1838 and 50, 1830, between 1838 and 50, the French and the English started blocking the Argentinian. Because this actually finds a very interesting thing, because the French and English were not at all successful in their conquest, but they tried to block the development of the Argentinian state. And as the Spanish had left the place, they wanted to place their own power there. But the Argentinian Republic had warded off these attempts. 1852, 57, 52, you have D. Urquiza, the first person to be selected as a federal president, and who started working on the liberal and federal constitution of Argentina. The same constitution is still even now present there. In 1861, you had the Battle of Pavon, by which once again, the federal system became an important tool of analysis. Again, you have 1880, Julio Roca. Though it is ROCA, it is Rosa, the same as Roca. We have the liberal development, and it became one of the most important features of the Argentinian state. Argentinian state was so liberal, so unique, that it was able to involve almost all kinds of people around, and they developed into one of the most powerful states in the whole of the world. And in 1912, and the conquest of the desert is actually a very important factor, because it was by which that they were able to conquer the remaining parts around their territory. Several parts of Chile were conquered, several parts of Peru were conquered, and they had annexed into their own parts. It was actually Roca who was instrumental in conquering these parts and making Argentina to the size that is Julio Aguilo Argentino Roca. His name, again, another interesting, Julio Argentino Roca. His name, takes his name with Argentina. And you have Rocco Sanchez Pereira, who started in 1912 the universal secret male suffrage. This is the first time the ordinary persons were given voting rights, and especially the men were given voting rights, and the government was selected from the voters in this sense. Earlier, it was the warlords who became the governors or the rulers of the time. The powerful were the ones who dictated the rules and systems. 1916 to 1942 was the time when the world had this First and Second World War, but Argentina was basically neutral, though Argentina was towards the Axis powers, the Allied powers in the towards the end of the Second World War. But Argentina suffered great economic crisis during the Great Depression. In 1940, Ramon Castillo was the president, and Ramon Castillo was overthrown in a military coup by Arturo Romanson. I bring Arturo Romanson. Actually, Arturo Romanson was not a very important person, but Arturo Romanson's coup brought in a very important person to the center stage. That is Juan Perón, 1944. He started as the Minister for Labor and Defense. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Argentinian army. He became the labor minister first, and then he gained access to the defense side also. Later, they went for the Argentinian government went for the elections.
I think we need to wind up in another 5 minutes. So
okay. So I'll speedily go through these things. These are the Juan Perón is the most politically charged person, and Juan Perón is supposed to be one of the persons who actually started started off with a very powerful labor side, but he went towards becoming one of the most important, very powerful but America backed him for attacking the left movements, and he became one of the, what I will say that he gained re-elections, but we don't know how he gained elections each time. And in 74, he became he was dead, and his wife Isabella Perón took the reins of the country in his hand. The same time, dirty war, US backed state sponsored terrorist attack was there, and it was only in 1983 return to the democracy was there, and you have 2023, you have Javier Milei the president. Now, Argentina, you can see that 30, 40, 43, 55, 62, 66, 76, and 81. These are the 7 military coups that occurred in Argentina. It was all for dictatorship. Though they were given the title of president, they never actually did the president. They were working. They were ruling over the democratically elected governments, and they were Peronists. Or actually, the word Peronist is also come to the stage because of Juan Perón and his state-sponsored terrorism. And again, related to the food, people love to eat, and they love their midday meal and to have a siesta, a sleep, a good sleep. And even high-end hotels, the low-end local resto bars, they offer a kind of variety of food. And these are some of the food items that I have listed out there. If we had time, we could have discussed them in detail and interestingly. Regarding music and theater, the one music that everybody knows about Latin America is tango. Tango is the the couple dance with loud music and sharp movements. It has got an influence, a European and African influence, and it's from 1930 and it is between 1930s and the 50s. It was considered as the golden age of tango. Even now the most important time is cacheguare. It's a sub form of the cambia and reggaeton music, and it is how this is a dance, again a dance music involving people, and how it has gained access over so many persons. Now the theater, regarding theater, the most important theater place is called Corrientes Avenue. In Corrientes Avenue, it's also called the Intellectual Avenue, and you have a place called Teatro Colón. Teatro Colón is an opera theater. Now regarding cinema, we in India are blessed by one of the Argentinian directors visiting Kerala often, Fernando Solanas. Solanas and Getino were two important personalities who started the third cinema, anti-capitalist approach of cinema that started from Argentina. And Solanas, I think, passed away last year. Now, regarding the literature of Latin America, it was actually believed that it started off, they believe that it was Latinism in its beginnings, that people didn't say that Africa had, or Latin America had any of the music of themselves. What they had was only a kind of Latinism, an imitation of the Latin writings, and certain persons called it as a kind of gauchesco writing, that is the cowboys singing. Actually, the cowboys were not traditional. They were only they were mestizos, or one half indigenous, one half Latin. So these mestizo cowboys, and they are singing. Especially, I have put the name of Juan Hernandez on the neoclassicism page, on the neoclassicism tab. Hernandez and his Martin Fierro. Martin Fierro is considered as the national epic of Argentina. But people believe that Martin Fierro, it was the way how these writers wrote the Latinistic style, from where the whole poetry of Argentina developed. And towards the first MP Centenera, La Argentina, the Argentina, and Adi Guzman, where Argentina Manuscrita. These are the two terms, these are the two works, two poems from where the name Argentina gained acceptance in 1702 itself. But at the same time, people, there were people who said that oral tradition, indigenous traditions have their important ways. In 1837, you have the French Romanticism involving the writers, and it's called the generation of 1837. You have Echevara, where he brings in El Matador, J. Marmol, Amelia. Amelia is a novel. and Alberdi, where he brings in El Gigante, the giant, and Sarmiento, Facundo. Facundo is something that stands even today. Facundo was just like Martin Fierro. Facundo was attracted, many people were attracted to Facundo. Now there were chroniclers also, Hispano, Gutierrez, Manzilla, who were chroniclers of the early writing till the 20th century. Now, 1937, you have the descriptive poetry. Just like 1837, you have the 1937 generation 1937. They used idealism, magic realism, Molinari, Barbieri, uh, Orozco, Benaros, Gonzalez. They were part of this movement. Then you have modernism, but it is called Novosimos, or the Florida group and the Japones group. Even though it is Japanese written, for the Spanish it is not Japanese, it's called Japon. Japones group. There were two cafes. Florida cafe. Florida group was a set of people who assembled in a cafe. The members, prominent members were Borges, Cortazar, the Ocampo. They gathered in a cafe in the Florida Avenue, and they discussed about modernism in that sense. On the other side, Goriti, Lugones, Stroni, they were among a group of people who joined in the Japones group. Japones is a Japanese man who started a cafe in one of the streets of Buenos Aires. So the Japones group and Florida group, they discussed the ideas of modernism and they presented them in their writings. This period is also known for the idea called the boom generation. The boom, we call it as boom because it was a time when a number of novels, number of writings, especially fiction, came in the shape of boom. And the interesting thing is that there was a Barcelona-based publication company, Biblioteca, they instituted uh, a kind of what is the literary present. The name of the prize was called Bibliotheca Brief, and Bibliotheca Brief had invented, or the name of the publisher is Six Barrel. Six Barrel is two persons' names combined together, Six and Barrel, and they instituted a prize and they made several of the present day classics of these writings, boom generation. Because of the boom generation, number of writers were there bringing out other kind of writing. Now, at the same time, there was a Leninist movement, vanguardism. Giraldus was a member of the vanguardist movement. But boom didn't last long. There was a new movement that broke away from boom, and we didn't know what name we can give to that movement. We at present, this is the generation of the broom, and those who like for the Brazilian writer Jorge Volpi says that it's not boom or it's not post boom. It should be called as crack generation because after broom it should break. It's the crack generation. Manuel Pig, Puig. I don't know the exact pronunciation. You might think that it is Pig, but it is Puig. Manuel Pig, who wrote the wonderful work called Heartbreak Tango. Now, after the 1960s and 90s, during the Cold War, a new movement, which is called the avant-garde movement or the existentialist movement, which tells in detail about the existential anxiety of the persons, and they discuss these kind of writing. The present day Argentinian literature is a reunion of the survivors of the past generations, especially from the modernist side, and how it discusses the ideas. At present, we have these writers, and these writings, they represent a world which is far different from the kind of material that we get in our markets, because most of them are writing in Spanish. The most number of writings that we get in English is actually from the boom or post boom era. Now it is all gone there. What they have started is the present a kind of survival kind of literature and a resistance literature to war and all kinds of attack on humanity. So this is the summary of what I had intended to say about Latin America and Latin American writing. Thank you for bearing with me, though I extended a little bit of the time that is allotted for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Apu. That was a very informative and interesting lecture. We would have loved to hear more about it in detail, particularly all those food names that you had put up there. But I think we need to give a little time for discussion. That is why I asked you to hurry up a little. The floor is now open for questions or comments to the presentation.
Can I ask?
Yeah,
Jamila?
sure, Ramani. Yeah, go ahead.
That was wonderful, Dr. Apu. You took us to Argentina, okay? And it is like listening to a story, you know. It was very wonderful to listen to you. So thank you so much. I was just wondering how you managed to study all these. Like Jamila was reading your biodata and she said you have learned computer, you have learned that. How did you manage in such a young age? I don't know. I was just wondering how you managed.
Just because of
That's
the
wonderful.
interest in library science, ma'am.
Ah,
Because
still
libraries
managed that.
keep
Good,
you
good.
arrange things together, differentiate them, classify them.
Maybe, but then wonderful anyway.
Thank you.
And what is your about? She's talking about the Friends of Tibet. What is your interest in that?
Because my thesis was the first thesis in India about Tibetan movements in English, Tibetan poetry in English. So I did my research in way back in 2008. I started it under Dr. Harris, who was the first person who allotted a research in Tibet. Because everywhere, wherever I went, people were skeptical about Tibet, and they thought that how can you study Tibet? Whatever you say is basically a kind of bias. But he was there. He accepted me without any question, and he made me do the work. And
Yes,
that was
interesting.
something.
Did you go to Tibet to get his literature?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to Tibet? Did you visit Tibet?
I am actually not allowed to visit Tibet because if I apply for a visa, I will be pushed out
Why?
because
Why?
they believe that I am anti-Chinese. But there are the largest number of Tibetans living in exile is in India, ma'am. So I have hundreds of poet friends, writer friends. Their poetry may not sound like poetry, but it was something of a great experience to know
Interesting.
a set of people. Because
That was
same thing. When I went to Palestine, I found that people are keeping their still keeping an earlier generation who are still keeping their keys to their ancient homes, which were looted and destroyed by the Israelites. Similarly, here there is a generation. I have went to several of the settlements where there is an elder generation who have not opened their bags, or even if they have to open their bags, they will open it, take the material that is needed, clean it, and place it and lock the bag so that they want to go back in the next minute. And this has been there for the last 75 years.
oh no. So
Same with
strange.
Palestine.
Okay. Then Tom and Jerry cartoon. You made an analysis of that, is it?
Yeah, that was a small analysis of how the real picture behind Tom and Jerry, how Tom and Jerry was not just the ordinary cat chasing the mouse, or wasn't it the mouse chasing the cat, and
Oh,
all privileged mouse chasing the less underprivileged cat.
but anyway, it was very interesting for the children. Entertaining for the children to watch. That much I can say. We're talking about the national flower. Am I taking too much time, Jamila?
No, go ahead.
You're talking about the national flower. Is that seen in India?
We have a variety of it, ma'am. It's called Kolipu, or something that is
Coxcomb. We call it coxcomb, like something like that.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah,
Okay.
coxswain.
But red in color, magenta in color.
Magenta color.
Yeah.
But
You're talking about
that's a small shrub, isn't it? But the
that's a
picture
small
you showed
shrub.
was like a tree.
Yeah, that's the other one, ma'am.
Oh,
The picture on the left was the cockspur.
ah,
The other one is
yeah.
a tree.
Oh, tree. It's a tree. Then you were talking about yerba. No, this about the soup you're talking about, isn't it?
Lokra.
Have you tasted that soup?
No, couldn't, ma'am. But I was fortunate enough to make quinoa today,
Oh,
because quinoa nowadays people offer that quinoa is the best what
nutritious.
grain that can be used for weight loss, because I am over.
Yeah, it's a nutritious. Yeah.
But
You haven't tasted that soup. That
yeah.
sounds interesting. That's why I'm asking.
It's not actually, actually, ma'am, in the Mexican or this thing, they involve a lot of sauces. It's called mole. The same with our fish moili.
Okay.
It's called mole is called from the Spanish word. How sauce is added there and how a creamy sauce is there.
Yeah.
So I made some guacamole, the or the sauce using
Okay.
that is avocado.
Avocado.
Drink it as juice here, but actually it should be eaten as a spread.
Spread.
Quinoa and guacamole. So I actually wanted to bring a hat. I had a Thracian hat. I had a poncho here. I couldn't bring it here.
I missed that.
Then have you had that drink, that decoction?
That's not available, ma'am, here. It's very difficult to get it. You have to go to Argentina, and most of the Latin American countries, they don't give us, particularly Indians, visa on arrival.
That was very interesting, Dr. Apu. Thank you so much.
It's believed to be a kind of coffee-like taste. Black.
I thought so. I thought so. A good decoction, something like that.
Okay.
We thank you, Kamini. We have a message in the chat box which says a wonderful presentation, Dr. Apu. You're so thorough with the subject. We gathered a lot of information about Argentina from Dr. Srikala.
Thank you.
Thank you, Srikala. Very glad that you enjoyed the talk.
Yeah, from what Kamini said, can I ask one or two questions?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Kamini had already asked one or two. Actually, this about this caffeinated drink, you said, yerba mate. Yeah. So what I saw in the picture was the vessel, the cup looked like a metal. But did you say that it was made of?
According to the kind of it varies according to the standard of the person, because sometimes there are persons who are rich, they can go for a wooden cup, they can go for a cup made of silver, they can go for it. But the usual cup is a kind of gourd, it's a bottle gourd, but having two silver rings on top as well as in the bottom. And there's a metal straw on top of it, and the top of the straw there's a kind of filter also is there.
Okay, bottle gourd is the vegetable thing, no? Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Another one, I don't know whether I heard it right, about that national animal, that llama.
Llama is not the animal, man. Llama is the domestic animal that is there. It's the bird that's the national bird. I want to show you the llama because llama is part of the Andean culture, and Argentina being part of the Andean culture is also having llamas.
Okay, that you said that it spits.
Yeah, it spits when
like,
it is.
Hear it correct. Okay. That's very, very peculiar and very different.
It does not bite or it does not kick. It spits.
I thought I may have heard it not correct. So I wanted to correct it because I should not be saying something, when we talk, something wrong.
Yeah. What he said was when it is in fear, instead of running away or retaliating, the llama spits.
Anyway,
but did I hear correctly, Abu, when you said that it was a girl that was holding on?
She's wearing a Peruvian dress, ma'am. She's not an Argentinian. Her dress is Peruvian. It's actually an Incan dress. That flat.
Actually, she looked like a Northeast girl, no?
Yeah, that's the similarity that we have.
Yeah, I thought as much.
She's having much similarities. The colors, and several of the patterns in her dress. These patterns, people don't know what these patterns are, and it is believed that after the colonial invasion, we don't know what was the actual language of several of the Incans, because there is no pictograms like the the hieroglyphs and things like that. So whatever we know is that there is a kind of repeating patterns, a wave-like pattern, and it is believed that this is the key to the language that they still keep in their patterns there.
In their oral traditions.
Their oral traditions there, but actually, ma'am, they don't use that language. The patterns are being used because nobody knows how to pronounce this language.
But even the tango dance form, does it originate from the
No, no,
Native Americans, or it is something that
Spanish.
is
It is Spanish. It is Spanish.
Spanish?
Spanish.
African and European roots to it.
The nice music.
Anyways, as Jamila ji told, your interest in biodiversity and environment, that works. We'll definitely go back and see what you're doing and whether we can take advantage of that and we can learn more about it later on. But some things which really interested was the coat of arms design. It's just so colorful, that handshake and the designs and the hat. That is really interesting to see.
Yeah.
And of course, you showed us that Korivalan flower. That is so common here. It's a national flower, you're saying. That's very, and of course, it was a very good presentation.
And even the national bird,
Yeah.
and even the bird, very common bird.
And the national bird is that, what is it called in Malayalam? The kurvi, that adakya kurvi. It's so common, no? That's
it's a kind of adakya kurvi, ma'am.
Adakya kurvi. Okay. Those are something which, and what you said about the history and all that, you've got really in-depth knowledge, and we could really understand a lot of things, new things. That was excellent presentation. Very nice. Thank you.
I'm Manjula Ghosh from Kolkata. Can I say something?
Yeah, please do. Go ahead.
I would like to.
We would like to see you if you could put on your video.
In the literature section, Professor Dr. Appu made a name of V.D. Ocampo. Her whole name is Victoria D. Ocampo. She was a very rich and influential lady in Argentina. Poet Rabindranath Tagore went to Argentina, met her, and Victoria D. Ocampo was very well known in that area in Argentina, and she was very close to poet Tagore and her family. When Tagore was coming back from Argentina in a boat, he was not well, but Victoria did his journey comfortable by sending a chair which he loved to sit in her house, and made the journey comfortable. She did a lot for Vishwavarati University, and also poet gave her the name Vijaya. Victoria D. Ocampo was mentioned as Vijaya in his writing, and he dedicated one book in her name. Victoria D. Ocampo is very well known in our part, Kolkata, because of poet Rabindranath Tagore.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
What an interesting connection. You would never have imagined that.
Connection also, ma'am. Her sister, Silvina Ocampo, was also another poet. So when we go through the writers of Argentina, there's so many familial relations there. Sisters, brothers, uncles.
Another interesting thing I noted was the way the national icons, the names are said. And of course, I should say that you pronounce it in such a manner that it was, we could understand it. We would have otherwise put it double L-A as La, The way you said about, that was quite interesting. And father's and mother's name with that's very new thing.
Yeah, that was
very interesting because usually it is a patriarchal thing, only father's name. So that was
the reason is that I gained a translation grant from the Center for Latin American Studies in our university. So I was translating a few books, and I really wanted to translate them in the best possible manner. So last year, when the famous translator of this Marquez died, I was fascinated to know how this language works. So I couldn't go for any special classes for that, we have an app in the Google Play Store which is called Duolingo. Duolingo. For the last 1 year, I have been studying Spanish through that app. It's like just like a game. It's very interesting to go study that game. And I have a good friend in Delhi University whose name is Dr. Krishnanuni. He knows Spanish, and he taught me how to do the customs. So whenever I have a doubt, I call him. I ask him, sir, is it like that? He will immediately say that this is not like the thing. You have to do it like this, and then you have to understand it like that. It's because of that great man that I know a little bit of Spanish now.
So,
Yeah. I was also wondering, you seem to be so familiar with Spanish names.
It's a very interesting app now. Anybody, it's just like playing a game. You can study any language. Even I started studying Welsh. Welsh was a very difficult language. Welsh and Irish also, but I couldn't continue on. The maths is also, one can study maths, music.
What is this link? What is this
Duo
link?
what is that app?
What is the app?
Duo
Huh?
Duo
Leo?
Lingo Lingo.
Okay, we'll try that. I mean, not that I'm not that good in all this, but let's try.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like a game, we will start and see.
Yeah, man.
Anyone else would like to make a comment? Or... Kala was here for some time. Kala, you would like to unmute and say something?
Yes, ma'am. Let me see.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Your video. Yeah.
Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yes, go ahead.
See, before listening to this talk, I never knew anything about Argentina except Messi and Maradona. Most probably because I used to watch the football matches with my husband, who was a national player. So I think that inspired me to watch the games. It was a wonderful talk, and so much we learned from you. Actually, I have taken down most of the things you said in about 4 or 5 pages, as I used to do in my MPhil classes and all that. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We are meeting only
Next year, yeah.
next year again.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, anyone
Okay.
else would like to unmute, say something? And thank you, Manjula Ghosh. That was a very interesting sideline that I got from your discussion and your comment about Rabindranath Tagore.
Connection to India.
Yeah, connection with Argentina.
Yeah.
Usha, so if Usha's remarks.
Yes, that was a very interesting talk. And as Srikala also mentioned, Argentina was something that we knew very little about. I mean, from my generation, we will remember the Falkland War because that was so much discussed at that time. But then it was not much about Argentina, the main country. It was only about the Falkland Islands. And then football. Other than that, we had very little knowledge. And actually, for me, this presentation has been a real eye-opener. And, making us more aware of what this... And I mean, actually, I didn't even know that Argentina was such a large country. I always thought of Argentina as a small country, but as he says, it is the 8th largest country in the world. So geographically, it is quite widespread. Very interesting presentation. And then the different areas in which you have been working and thinking and writing. I really wonder how you find time for so much. And now you're learning languages as well. So you must be really, using your 24 hours, stretching it to 48 hours or what. So that was, but it is very good to see young people trying to increase their knowledge. And then what I found very interesting was linking you made with the Tibetan people who have come over to India and the Palestinians. The Tibetans have been here. I mean, I was in Delhi for quite some time, and there we come across so many Tibetans who have been here for decades, as you mentioned, 75 years maybe. But then they don't feel their roots in India. They are always looking to go back. Even the younger generations, the older generations, naturally, they came from there, they want to go back. But even the later generations, they are also all just waiting. They are always packed and waiting to move. And Palestine, of course, the circumstances are different, more tragic. But then it is the same with them, I suppose. The Israelis and Palestinians, we all feel we all feel it in our heart, and then we wonder why nobody is doing anything about it. This has been going on for months and almost a year, and so many people are getting killed in Palestine, and nobody, not even the UN, is able to do anything to this. So actually it makes us a little scared also. Some other time maybe we are the victims, and people will go on killing us, and nobody in the world will not bother. So it is very sad, but the link that you made between the Tibetans and Palestinians, I found that very interesting. So thank you, Appu, for that a really interesting talk, and very informative for all of us. And Manjuladi, thank you so much for telling us about that connection with Rabindranath Tagore. That was something that was very new, and we didn't know that he had such a strong connection to Argentina. I wonder how long he was in Argentina. Maybe we could just read up about Tagore and see how he was in Argentina, and what was the background of his connection with Argentina. So I think we can wind up now, Jamila.
Yes, and thank you everyone for joining, and thank you, Apu, for taking time from all the work that you were doing. Thank you so much, and you did a wonderful job. Like, we all got to know about Argentina, like many of us who knew Argentina only as a country from where the footballers came. But we now know so much more about Argentina. And particularly where you were talking about the political relationships and the way in which the Nazis found shelter in Argentina. And maybe, as you said, the modern warfare that is going on, and Argentina has become a safe shelter for many of the terrorists or the people who promote violence from running away to a place where they can hide. Well, a very strange country, and full of history, full of mystery, full of secrets. And I think as we read more, and this talk may be the beginning of our interest in Argentina, and we'll be looking up more for what we can know about Argentina. So thank you for beginning this dialogue about Argentina for us. And I also look forward, Apu, sometime in the future where we would really love to hear you talk about Tibet and the excellent poetry in Tibet. And I was also looking forward to your interest in the environment of Argentina. We would have loved to hear more about that, but of course, another time. And I hope you'll join us again on this platform sometime later on. So thank you very much, Apu, for that very interesting talk. Thank you, members of AIWC who have joined us. Thank you all the guests, Kala, Kamini, Boneshwari, and Manjula ji, Dr. Sara Machandi, Hosha Rajagopal, Ajita, and so many of you who have joined us on this platform. And as in other past presentations also, you will come to know, Apu, that though our attendance here on this platform is few, because this is recorded and put on YouTube, I'll be sending you a link. A lot more people will be watching this. And I think for the information of others who are here on this platform, Usha and I have been approached by Kerala University about putting all these talks compiled as AIWC talks on the Kerala University web. So probably we'll be doing that in the future once we have all the 50 done. So 2 more to go. and I'm sure we'll reach the 50 mark. So as Kala said, we will not be meeting before the new year. So very happy new year to all of you who are here, and a happy Christmas too. Thank you very much.
Do you say anything about next month's webinar? Have you anything planned or?
Yeah, it is still on the anvil, so I'll get back on that.
And about the G20, this is actually under the series of culture and literature of the G20 countries. So are we winding it up, or do we continue?
No, I think we had left out US, but we have had, I mean, people know more about US than about some of these countries that we have presented on this platform. So I think our next two ones, I would go for a little general ones, as we did at the beginning of our program, and something that is interesting for everyone. So that is why I'm taking a little time to organize that.
So probably we can have the next webinar of like a wrap-up session where we'll wrap up the G20 series, and then in the year we'll something
We'll
new.
start, I mean, we'll go back to what we were doing earlier on our cultural and literary forum. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Apu, for spending so much of time with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you especially for to our resource person, and thank you, Jamila, for holding such a, as you said, 4 years of unbeaten record. It is some kind of a record, and we all feel very happy about it. And our YouTube channel, a lot of people are watching, and if we can see that every video is watched by at least 100 people. So it is and we want to make it as now, of course, Kerala University has approached, but we want to make it as a huge resource base that is accessible to students and other well-wishers and those who are interested in these topics. So we have a little bit of work to do. We'll have to categorize these. All the videos are on YouTube. In addition to the Literary and Cultural Forum, we have had other webinars as well. So we have nearly 130 videos on our YouTube channel, which we would like to categorize, edit, and then put up as resource material for students and others. So I hope all of you will cooperate in helping us to do that. We look forward to that. And so all the effort that we have put in over the past 4 years, we'll have something to really show for that. So I wish all of you a very warm New Year and Merry Christmas. Thank you. And we'll meet again in January, the first Saturday of January. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's the first New Year wish in this season. No, the first New Year wish.
Yeah. And the Christmas wish.
Christmas, yeah. New Year and Christmas.
Okay, thank you. You can leave.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.